This program is not intended to diagnose, treat, or take the place of a physician or any licensed medical personnel. Hi, this is Tracy Elman, and I'm here with Arlene Starkey, a very good friend of mine for over 25 years. And Arlene is the most knowledgeable person I know of that is not a doctor and can give you more information about diet and vegetables and health than any doctor that I've ever met. Arlene, thank you for being on the show.
I had to put a title on me. I guess you could call me a health missionary, maybe.
The health missionary.
Yeah.
Or the health researcher, or what was the other name?
Yeah, health research person. I have my certification for Master Gardener. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they had their Ezekiel bread or whatever, they made from scratch that they grew from the garden. We've come so far, and things are so processed, and the whole GMO thing that it's like they've really messed with our food. If you have an illness, you need to go totally plant-based. So if you like chicken, you need to go to Trader Joe's or like Vaughn. If you go in the vegetarian section for meat, they have vegetarian hot dogs that are soy-based. They have little chicken strips. Trader Joe's has some, and they all have like a teriyaki sauce that you mix in, and they're delicious. So you have that with your meal instead of like a real chicken. Because the animal protein, if you have more than 20% animal protein, you're at risk for developing disease, cancer, heart disease. Because the only way you get heart disease, cardiovascular problems, meaning cholesterol, arterial sclerosis, clogging of the arteries, that cholesterol comes from animals. So if you take out the animals, the vessels will repair themselves. The vegetables you're eating will have the nitric oxide ingredient, which coats the vessels and keeps the vessels strong, and you'll have clear vessels. So you won't die of heart disease. If you have a serious disease, you want to be plant-based. If everything's okay and you're still young, you could get away with some animal products, but keep it to a garnish, a minimum, like the Chinese do. They don't have the degenerative disease that we do because they don't eat a lot of animal products. Rice, vegetables, sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
So,
how did you learn about this?
Well, since I've known you, I've been studying it. So it's just one resource after another, following the different leads and put it all together, and that's what you come up with. And the main resources of the China, started with the Hunza people, okay, and then the China study, and Esselstein's book on reversing heart disease, and of course there's Ornish, and that guy that died, I forget his name off the top of my head. But anyway, they all were able to reverse degenerative heart disease, and let's see, what's the guy's name that's written all the books on cancer? Of course, I started with Gerson with the Gerson therapy, but then there's been a lot of research. Now there's research on epigenetics, and if you have a cancer gene, they discovered the genes thing now, but if you have a cancer gene, you can turn it off with eating a lot of plants that high in antioxidants, and it turns the gene off. So you're less likely to get the cancer than if you ate fried food and the regular junk food on every corner and very little fruits and vegetables. But epigenetics is a very interesting study, so that's something you can look into.
I've never heard of it.
I'd like to take a course in it, and the whole idea is that we've got genes give you a proclivity towards certain diseases, but you're born with them. But if you're born with them turned on because of your previous ancestors' lifestyle, if you change to a plant-based diet, rich in antioxidants, organic produce and that kind of stuff, you can turn those genes off. So the good genes are turned on, the bad genes are turned off. So there's a lot of studies on that.
So you call it epigenetic?
Yeah, EPI, and then genetics. EPI, genetics, epigenetics.
Wow.
I think that's the proper spelling. Yeah, so that's kind of the new kid on the block that all the doctors are talking about now. And, the ones that I listen to that come to do our talks, because I still do all that work with the Camarillo Church. And, they do classes every spring. Well, starting in January, they bring guests in to do talks, and then I help with the conference that they have, the health conference every year, which is similar to just like a seminar. They have different speakers, and then they have a couple people demoing how to cook some vegan recipes. And then they feed you like a healthy meal catered by like Veggie Grill was last year. And have probably somebody different this year, so this coming year. I've been doing it for the last 3 years. I've been helping them do it. But I'm just like a helper, the organizer is Dr. Lowe. And if you go to that Camarillo church that does all this stuff, when I was going through the whole cancer thing with my dad and using the Gerson therapy and everything, I ran into his mom, and she had cancer, so I was helping her. We were working on the Gerson therapy. Well, subsequently, her mother died, and then I became friends with her daughter, and so she kept in contact with me. And then when this stuff started coming up at the Camarillo church, and I don't know if you remember, we were always going on these campouts and everything. So they earned badges. It was like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts.
I do remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I was really too young for all that. But anyway, so we dropped out of it at some point, and I don't remember exactly why, but anyway, I kept in contact with her, and then she started going to that church, and so she let me know, like maybe 4 years ago, that they were doing this program, so the CHIP program. Basically, Hans Deal, D-I-E-H-L, he started the CHIP program, which is, it was coronary, it's comprehensive, but it wasn't just for coronary disease, but they'd also talk about diabetes, everything, but digestive problems. But it's nicknamed CHIP. If you go to chip.org or .com, I think this stuff would come up about the CHIP program. But it's comprehensive health program, comprehensive something health program. Doctors that are involved with that program are the same people that do Forks Over Knives, Esselstyn and Dr. Campbell. Dr. Campbell's the one that wrote the China study, which he went to China and redid the China study, completed the China study that the Chinese emperor did years ago. Basically, they found that there are certain cancers that were in certain regions of China, and they narrowed it down to this lifestyle that would cause the certain cancers. So it's kind of interesting, but in the meantime, he recreated some of the studies, and the one was with the 20% protein. When he upped the protein 120%, these rats that were in the experiment got cancer. And then he reversed it and took them off, and then reversed the cancer. So he kind of went up and down, up and down. So he proved 20% was the marker for getting cancer. So that's a very interesting study. So they sell it in Sprouts, Whole Foods. I'm sure any bookstore has it. It's called the China Study by Dr. Campbell.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and then Dr. Esselstyn, he's reversing heart disease with his book, and now his son is starting on the bandwagon, so he's doing a lot of seminars and did a book and everything. It's his book. He was a fireman, so his has to do with, I can't think of it off the top of my head, engine number 1 or something like that. Can't remember the number, but anyway, engine number 9 or something like that. And basically the same thing. He's got recipes and talks about his father's work. But Esselstyn, the people that he did his study on proved could reverse their heart disease, getting them on a plant-based diet. He's extremely strict. I would, and I've talked to a couple of people, we would add back the healthy fats, because he even took out avocados and nuts and oils. I think I would add back the healthy fat, with the avocados, nuts, and maybe a tiny bit of olive oil, but not much, because olive oil's got a problem too. But anyway, so because your brain needs your omega fatty acids, because it kind of floats in. There's a lot of omega fatty acids in your brain, EFAs they call it, and that's Alzheimer's patients are deficient in that. So that's a nutrient that it needs. There's the same doctor that talks about cancer did a talk for us on Alzheimer's being diabetes of the brain, or insulin resistance of the brain. So basically, because of the diet, these fat cells plug up the areas where the insulin goes in the cell, so the insulin isn't getting in. So insulin resistance. So that's why then the pancreas gets messed up, and so it just begins a whole cell process in the body. So basically, it's the fat that causes diabetes, and the fat that causes diabetes in the brain, and it's indicated in Alzheimer's patients. So if you go to Camarillo Seventh-day Adventist Church, their website will come up, and click on a menu, and you click on health, which you can watch the guest speakers who came to the last conference. Some of these seminars that I help with, you might see me in there walking around somewhere.
That's so awesome. You've been involved in so many of these health things ever since I met you, 20-something years ago.
It's like finding a treasure, because this knowledge is not used by your regular doctors, And I told you about how I helped the man I'm working for, right? The lady that has MS. I mentioned how I helped reverse his heart disease a little bit. Anyway, what happened was this came on the scene. I was helping, and then they found out because I was doing one of my programs in April, so I told them about it, and I brought some samples of the food because we'd have the food, every night of the program. We feed those people when they come, show them how good the food tastes if you cook that way. So anyway, so they really liked the stuff I brought, and then they asked me if I would prepare them a meal once in a while. So I started doing that. They really liked it, so they wanted me to keep doing that more and more, So now I end up trying to, and they do order out sometimes, but anyway, mostly they try to keep on at what I'm trying to do for them. They're like my first client, if they're like my first experiment and having a client to do this. But anyway, so he had heart disease, okay? So slowly I found out that he'd had an operation, he had a bypass surgery, and so I've been helping him with his diet, changing his diet, I try to get him off all cholesterol. So anyway, he goes in his regular visits and everything, and then I guess the first sign that I was helping him, the doctor gets his blood test back and says, you know what, your cholesterol is in the normal range, and all this other stuff is normal. What are you doing? So he said, well, I have this lady that she makes my food, and she's taking out all that, what do you call that stuff? And he told me this, and then he remembers the word cholesterol. And he says, well, everything's looking good, so keep doing what you're doing. So then he was supposed to have a carotid artery test. So he had a carotid artery test, which is the artery in the neck. And carotid artery was 75% or more filled with it. So no one ever talked to this guy about the fact that he had arteriosclerosis. So he just thinks, well, just one of those unlucky people have heart disease. No clue how he got it, right? So,
right.
So anyway, with what I was doing for his diet, he had to go back 3 months later for that test. And when he went back to have that test, he was 7 points below what he was before. Now, see, they expected him to be the same or worse, and they were suggesting surgery. So if he's any worse, he has to have surgery. That's what his doctor was saying. Well, it went down. And so the doctor, he tells me this because I wasn't there, but he said, the doctor says, well, what are you doing? I have never seen this ever in my life. Someone's reversing their clogged artery. You've never seen it. So what are you doing? Well, I have this lady, and she cooks my food, and I have a lot of vegetables and rice, watermelon, stuff like that. So then, okay, she goes in the hospital because she got MRSA virus infection. So I'm taking him to the hospital every day. Well, all of a sudden, he starts having chest pains, and like an elephant sitting on his chest, and he's having a hard time breathing, walking up the stairs, doing his normal stuff. So the next day, when we're going to see her at the hospital, his doctor's like in the building next door, so he stopped in and he says, oh, the heck with it, I'm going to take my blood test early, because his blood test wasn't due for a couple of weeks. He was having such a time. I was having to use a wheelchair to take him up to her room, so it was that bad. And we looked at he has a physician's desk reference, and we're looking in there and reading all about heart disease, and we determined that he had angina, and he could be having a heart attack coming up. Okay, got the blood test. The doctor got the blood test the next day, and we called him. It says, you get in here tomorrow. I got to see because there's something really wrong. And so he went in there, and the doctor prescribed him to be on nitroglycerin. So then he wanted to put him in the hospital, but because she's in the hospital, he refused to go in the hospital. So he made the next appointment the following Monday and says, I'll see you Monday if you're still alive. So that's how bad it was. So
wow.
So then we get in the prescription, and the patch helps immediately. He never had to take the pills yet, so it wasn't too. You got to just getting the patch. He still has the patch every day. But then he started feeling better, and then the next time he went to his appointment, the punchline of the story is, the doctor's checking him all over, and things seems to be circulating better. His edema in his legs is gone. And then he says to him, is that lady still with you? And he goes, well, what do you mean? Talking about some girlfriend. That lady that makes you the food. Oh, yeah, Arlene, yeah, she's still making me food. And so the doctor said, if he had checked with his stethoscope all over, his chest, and you get that lady and put her under contract, she can never leave you because she's saving your life. So he said to her. So basically, my claim to fame is a doctor prescribed me for one of his patients. That's my one claim to fame. But anyways, I'm still helping him with the food, but it's kind of hard because she wants to order something from Tony's Pizza and stuff, and he does his best not to eat it. He eats a salad instead. But it's hard because he was a rich man and had a rich lifestyle and used to eat whatever he wanted. Now he can't because of the heart thing. But But anyway, it was kind of nice for me, so it kind of proved to me that I was doing a good thing by helping him. And he was a good sport, and he took it. And he would eat the food I made. I mean, it's not like my husband. I can't help my husband. He's stubborn. Anything, he won't eat. He cooks his own food now because I'm not home. Oh, that's the other thing. Kind of like my calling card is Forks Over Knives movie. So you can see it on Netflix. You can also log on and get their free newsletter. A lot of stars give testimonies. They go on the diet and how good they feel. And so you'll see a lot of new recipes or new ideas people put on there and things that they've helped going on, switching over to plant-based. So I had the producer for that movie, so I'd like to do a movie with another spin to it, but maybe another one on the same order, but with just interviews of people. It's really good, really well put together. So if you guys have Netflix?
We do.
Oh, good. Just go to documentaries. I hope it's still on there. It's called Forks Over Knives, meaning forks your lifestyle over having open heart surgery. Okay, that's kind of what Forks Over Knives is talking about.
Oh.
But it's not that long, and it's very well done. And they'll talk about Dr. Campbell on there and Dr. Estelstein. They're older men, but you kind of hear their story, and you'll see all the people they helped. And in between, you learn all the facts and figures of why you want to, switch over to more plants in your diet. And that's the whole idea of it. They don't want to, if you really love chicken, they don't want to take it away from you and just keep it as a garnish. This kind of thing. And with much more detailed studies that gets right into the biochemistry of it all. But this is the really good calling card when I try and get someone to switch over or to do this program. I have them watch the movie if they can. Now, I have a lady I'm trying to talk into watching. It's relative of his. So anyway, it's a long story, learning a lot, but that was kind of my proof that this really worked.
Oh, absolutely.
I could help a lot more people if I could get put down in what I know in a book,
Right.
I've studied all these different modalities, and I could put all together in one book. For my kids, I can leave it as a legacy for my kids because I can't tell them anything right now, but years to come, maybe they'll have something to read to see, oh, so this is what Mom was talking about,
So Arlene, so what is it that you want to get out of helping all these people? Like, how are you going to earn any money from helping all these people?
I don't make any money at what I do, so I just help people. That's it.
You're doing Shackley still?
Yeah, I'd like to get the Shackley going, but, I just don't have time to talk to people. My customers sometimes order, and so, but I'm not making any money to speak of. I do get a little bonus, maybe $100 here and there, but because of people are ordering. But
yes,
I did the shows, So, but I haven't been doing any shows because I'm so swamped with taking care of these people, in addition to all my other work, which is hard to keep up with because of these people. So I gotta balance I gotta do a time management thing for myself and figure out how I can do everything I'm doing. But,
So would you do you want them to contact you by email or by phone? Or do you have a website?
Or phone would be fine. I've always, through Shackley, it's an approved website. That I have two of them. I had one in, up in, Washington, Oregon area, and then I had, and I got some customers from that area, because it came up when they looked for a distributor. I came up for a local area, but I'm not that local, but my website would come up and they contacted me. My phone number or my email address.
Which is?
Well, my phone number is 805-210-0726. My email address, stark2448@hotmail.com. Then about Shackley products, being, natural, organic, non-toxic, versus cleaning products are non-toxic. The gardens in the garden. Well, I had a biochemist come and talk to us one time, and he said he really uses Shackley for his clientele. He has a clinic up in Oregon. He said if there's anything better than Shackley, he would be using it. So he really felt Shackley was the best, reasonably priced. I mean, it's not Walmart prices, but it's reasonably priced as far as the quality. They use organic products. They don't do any animal testing. They do millions of dollars of testing before we even get a product to be sure that the ingredients are pure. that they work, that's standardized. Other companies don't really have to meet those requirements, but they put those standards of quality on themselves. So it's just, I don't have to do a lot of research. If I send somebody to the health food store to get some B12 or vitamin B or whatever, I don't know what they're going to come up with, whereas if I refer them to Shackley, I know that they're going to get a quality product. I don't have to worry about researching each of the millions of products that are out there in the health food store. So I already know Shackley's good. And they have, Dr. Shackley was really ahead of his time as far as understanding that we need to get back to nature. So that's kind of what Shackley's all about, getting back to nature.
Wow. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Now, what are your qualifications?
I'm just a research addict. A research person. I have taken courses, been involved in a lot of seminars in the lifestyle medicine. So if I would have a certification, I would like to say it was with lifestyle medicine, which I'll eventually get when I have the time to take the course of study. Other than that, I have a Master Gardener certification because I believe that we're as healthy as the soil we grow our plants on. So I know about that because of the studies I've done on soil remineralization, which you think we talked about that years ago. So,
wow.
So basically, I'm just a self-taught, like the whole homeschooling thing. I'm just self-taught. I study under scholars that already have the degrees in their fields, and I study under them and try to share the message with whoever I come in contact with. So I'm like a missionary.
Wow. Now,
I'm a health missionary.
You are so good at this and so knowledgeable. Let's do a podcast on this.
What's a podcast? Well, I just would like to help your mom, so she doesn't get cancer again. And that's what brought this all on,
Yeah.
And then you brought Matthew into the picture, so yeah, I'd like to help him too. He's getting sick with whatever,
Well, we're all getting healthy. We're all getting healthy and getting fixed with things that they say nobody can get fixed from. So it has a lot to do with our God. So. And I did have another question for you. How did you get involved with going to all these different churches, even though they're not your church, and finding that they have all these wonderful programs?
Well, I guess, in the beginning, and so I started thinking, are they just experimenting on us? I mean, I know they call this is medical practice, but are they really just experimenting on us? Do they really know how to get us well? And so I started questioning, and first I thought I ate healthy, I had chicken and rice, and I thought I ate pretty healthy. And of course we go out to eat, and, we'd have McDonald's and, Kentucky Fried, just like everybody else. And of course I was at the peak of health, I always had a little bit of a weight problem, and I get sick every once in a while. But, when your kids get sick, you're really panicking because you don't know what to do, and then you gotta rely on these people who have PhDs or doctors, and whatever they tell you, you gotta do, and without question. And so I just started questioning. Okay, this is maybe symptom removal, but what caused this? So I started talking to people, doing a little research. Well, I ran into a lady that I had met. We had children the same age as her daughter. So she had done a study, which I never heard of, with natural hygiene. So I started studying that. I started getting all their books and reading it, and they advocate fasting and, of course, raw foods, totally raw foods diet. So I was reading all their books and just in awe about how, the concept of the fact that we could change our destiny just by changing our lifestyle, So that's where it all started. A couple other things happened that really turned me in that direction, and just the people I met. And the course actually mentions the Mormon Church and the Adventist Church as being two churches that they have longevity because of their lifestyle, and they eat whole foods.
And whole foods and raw foods. Could you give a definition for that, please?
Well, whole foods is, like whole wheat, whole wheat bread or sprouted bread, the whole food, and it hasn't been processed to a slight degree. I mean, when you cook it, you process it, but I mean, it hasn't gone through the factory, like the white flour has gone through a whole huge thing of processing. Well, Whole Foods is the foods as grown, okay, as close as possible. Even when you cut it, you're processing, but as close as to being grown, you're eating it, okay? It's a little bit of processing. Raw foods is the same type of idea, but they won't have like whole wheat bread, or they won't eat all the processed stuff. So raw foods is basically fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, sprouts, dried fruit, dehydrated natural foods. So basically combinations thereof of those things. So it's totally, and no raw fish, no animal products, no dairy products, nothing animal. It's all plant-based. But plant-based is a more newer term that they're using because a lot of people shy away from vegetarian or vegan or, some of the other things that they have out there. They think it's all like cult-oriented or something. Mm-hmm. But not so much today, but it was back when I was doing all these studies, It's like you're kind of a freak if you're a vegetarian. Vegetarian is the other word people shy away from, because they just think you can't be healthy if you're a vegetarian. I mean, you can. They're proving it. A lot of research. Only thing is, because of you don't know what the food content, mineral and vitamin-wise, is that you're eating, because you go in a store and you pick an orange out, you have no idea what the vitamin C content is, whether it's organic or not. You have no idea, Mm-hmm. You can tell sometimes by the taste. When it tastes really delicious, then it's got all its minerals in it. But like if a tomato is tasteless, it's grown on depleted soil. It just doesn't taste as good as if one that you've gotten out of someone's homegrown garden. So that's kind of the idea behind whole foods and raw foods.
Yeah.
And, they did this whole natural hygienic movement was the turn of the century. Dr. Herbert Shelton was one of the main guys. He's long passed away because this was a long time ago. But I see a spot of it come up every once in a while. But the Adventist Church is now included in any of the longevity studies that you pull up now, like the Blue Zones. They talk about the Adventist group. So that's when I got us involved in the Pathfinders program. And even though we didn't really go to the church, but I kind of got more information along those lines, just being involved with those people, because they basically, not all of them, a lot of them eat regular meat, steak, and everything, even though it's, on occasion. But the ones that follow the health message that was put forth with the early church, that they are purported to live longer than the person that eats our standard American diet, which has SAD as an acronym. SAD diet. Anyway, so I started studying there and just kept moving along those lines with everything I studied. Mm-hmm. Because there's always somebody new coming up and has a new cookbook or new spin on things, But it all brings you back to the same thing that, the plant-based diet seems to be the most easiest thing people can follow. And they have whole conventions now, which didn't exist back when I started all this.
What are they called, the conventions?
Well, they're like raw foods convention or vegan conventions. So I've only attended a couple of them just by accident because someone called me and said, "Oh, did you go to such and such?" And so I went over there that weekend. It's usually a 2 or 3 day weekend, and they have a lot of guest speakers come in again. And one of the best ones is Cancer Control Society that you're aware of. It has their convention coming up next weekend, not this coming weekend, but next weekend over the Labor Day holiday, September 3rd, 4th, and 5th, I believe it is this year. And they bring in all these doctors that are plant-based and have all these different cancer-reversing therapies. You learn a whole lot from just attending one of those. Mm-hmm. And there's people that have the booths in the area that they may have something to offer too as different health-oriented, like the juicer man comes in and they sell their various equipment for making a healthy juice and different vitamins, different supplements come in and give samples. And then they have a lot of free testing. They can test and see where you're at in certain areas, like the blood test. There's one fellow that did a blood test. So anyway, that's a great resource too. The Cancer Control Society, every year they're over there at the Universal Hotel in Universal Studio area.
In California.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I forgot. I did attend one of those with you. Had a great time.
Yeah.
Met a lot of people that I knew.
Yeah. couple of them that aren't with us today, unfortunately, I'm sad to say.
Oh,
Yeah, so,
that's sad.
for whatever reason. Anyway, but yeah, it's been fun. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy helping people. So
That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. So I guess if you had to put a title on me, I guess you could call me a health missionary, maybe.
The health missionary.
Yeah.
Or the health researcher, or what was the other name?
Yeah, health research person. I have my certification for Master Gardener. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Here in California, it's a really great program, by the way.
And who is that through?
Ventura County, UC Davis. The teachers come from there to teach the program, and that's through the agricultural department there in Ventura. Where all the county seat is there in Ventura, Victoria. It's in that area. You go there for your class in the agricultural department.
So it's actually a certification through the county?
Well, you get it from the UC Davis sponsors the program. The teachers come from there. There's other Master Gardener programs. There's one in Santa Barbara, and I think there's one in L.A. But basically, you get a certification after passing a test, after taking a course of study with these teachers, and they teach every subject that you can imagine on gardening. And the whole idea is that you become a volunteer to advise homeowners when they have problems with growing their fruits and vegetables or grass or whatever. They have a huge database, that you can access. They have a call-in program, so they train us to come in, and we man the phones for a couple of days a week for a few hours in the afternoon, and we field questions. And if we can't figure out the answer, then we go to one of the farm advisors that help us with helping the client. But we're basically are a force that helps the farm advisors so that they can concentrate on the farmers, because they just don't have the time to help the everyday gardener, homeowner. And they'd love to, but they just don't have the time because there's so many needs now with the farmers. So Master Gardeners are a force that can come in and do programs. They do all kinds of little workshops that people can come in and learn how to compost, make compost, or plant fruit trees, or prune your rose bushes. And there's always some kind of course going on. And the big thing right now is water-wise, planting your neighborhood with plants that are drought tolerant. So that's the mainstream of the classes right now.
Can anybody join, and is there a cost?
There is a cost. It's like about $150 for the course. You have to be accepted into the course. You have to apply, and September's the month they take applications in Ventura. So you'd have to go to the Master Gardener site to get the dates and everything. But you can go on the just put in Master Gardener Ventura County in Google or something, and it'll come up, and then you go to their website, and they'll announce when the interviews are coming, and you have to fill an application, and then they call you in for an interview, and then you find out in October if you've been accepted, and then your program starts in November. So that's typically what's happened in the past. So they make a few little changes, but they have a whole board of directors and everything that's run the thing. So it's quite extensive, and it's very high quality and very well run, and they offer a lot to the community. So,
how long is the course?
It goes from, let's say, November, so they start prior to the holidays, and they take a break for the holidays, and that continues till April. So it's once a day in the afternoon. Usually the class is from 1 to 4:30. That's every Thursday, so it's once a week, up until, unless there's a holiday, up until the end of April, they have a graduation and big celebration and that. So,
wow.
But they usually have about 35 people in each class. So there's a lot more people that apply than that get accepted. So I felt very fortunate that I was accepted.
That's wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Are you still selling those those planters that go high?
The tower gardens, yes. I still am a member of that, to sell the tower garden, yes.
That is something that a lot of people could use, and I know you could use it on a front porch or in an apartment even.
Yes, you just have to have full sun, You have to have and electricity, because it's run with electricity. I'd like to figure out how to do a solar one, but I haven't put my thinking cap on and getting that figured out yet.
And
I'm sure you can put
I'm sorry.
Solar electricity, if you want to have it out
Mm-hmm.
on the grounds where you didn't have access to electricity. So, and somebody may have already come up with that. I don't know, but I have to check on that. Somebody may have already thought that up. I just don't know if they have or not, or where I would find that out. I can check with the company and see if anybody's working on it, But
And how many plants can you grow in that tower?
well, it varies because each section has pockets all the way around each section. So it depends on how high you want to build it, because you can get the basic kit and then you can keep adding to it. So it just depends on what you want to do. So you could have 12 plants, and you can have 16 plants, just however big you want to build the tower. It's anything except root. You can't typically do root, like a carrot. So it'd have to be like lettuces, herbs, celery. I've grown celery in it, and stuff like that. You can even go flowers in it, especially edible flowers. But if you just want to go flowers for your house, you could do that. So basically, it's kind of an interesting concept. It's the homeowner can just buy a kit and set it up, and they're good to go. They don't have to research and get a whole hydroponic facility set up at their house, even though they could if they're really into it,
Mm-hmm.
But this is something the average person that just wants to just set it up and grow things doesn't have to figure it all out. It's just perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to have sun and access to electricity. So.
Very interesting. Thank you, Arlene. It's been a pleasure. This has been a wonderful visit. And, and we'll talk to you soon.
Oh, okay.